The script for this video was recorded off of my laptop's microphone and not my Yeti microphone because even though my Yeti microphone was plugged into my laptop, I forgot to change the settings over, so that's why the audio for this video is absolute crap. It's very on brand for the playoffs though, and I don't want to go through the trouble of re-recording, so forgive the crappy audio, but enjoy the video nonetheless.
There's a quote, and I want to make sure I've got it right, that you would trade all your wins for a championship?
Yeah. Champion's it. That's what it's all about.
Normalize changing your mind when exposed to new information. Just like Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin did.
This is tough, but I'm going to take more wins. I'm going to take getting to 60 with no championship. If you're saying I win a championship this year and I'm at 48 wins and I'm done, I would rather have 60 wins and no championship 3 years from now.
I've been punching the gut a lot harder. You know, we won 9 races, had a great year, and like I said, you know, the championship is kind of a bonus. You know, it'd be great to win it, obviously, but I'd rather go through the year and win races and do the things that we did and just came up short.
I know I said no more compromises. I know I said 36 or bust. I know I've said in the past that I will not give up the fight for a full season championship until we get one. And I won't. Believe me, if you think the revival of the chase for the cup is going to get me to shut up about this topic, you don't know me well enough, and you've got another thing coming when we get to August. That being said, I enter the 2026 NASCAR season with a renewed sense of anticipation that I haven't felt in years. And while I do think the chase is a step in the right direction, my excitement doesn't really stem from its reintroduction. Instead, it stems from the fact that we can finally say good riddance to the absolute worst playoff system in modern professional sports. After what we saw in 2025, I would like to issue a formal apology to both the college football playoffs and the MLS playoffs. Because as flawed as those systems are, they have absolutely nothing on what we saw in the 2025 NASCAR playoffs in particular. So today, as we say good riddance to the elimination playoffs once and for all, I want to take one final look back at the worst of the worst since I first uploaded my original video at the end of the 2020 season. Forgive me if I miss anything, there's been far too much that's worth criticizing. And I must confess, I've tried to forget a lot of what happened. Regardless, let's take a look at the insanity we've had to put up with over the last 5 years. If you thought Matt Crafton's 2019 championship without winning a race was controversial, let me point you to his 2021 season. Crafton led 19 laps the entire year. He made the championship 4. I want you to think about that for a second. Matt Crafton was one 2019 Homestead race away from winning another championship with 0 wins, and this time with just 19 laps led on the entire season. His 12th place finish at Phoenix ultimately left him 4th in the championship, but the fact that this was a mere possibility is outrageous enough on its own. His teammate Ben Rhodes won the championship, but it was kind of a letdown for John Hunter Nemechek, who had established himself as the most consistent driver throughout the year. But he got caught out at Phoenix and simply didn't shine when the lights were the brightest. Daniel Hemrick's Xfinity Series career was looking like Sheldon Creed's current stretch, where he finished second so many times that you wondered if he was ever going to break through. He finally did, on the final turn of the final lap of the final race. His reward? An Xfinity Series championship. The way the season had gone, things were always trending towards this title either going to Austin Cindric or AJ Allmendinger. Allmendinger famously beat Cindric to the line at Bristol in one of the most memorable, if not controversial, finishes in series history. But throughout the playoffs, Cindric had appeared to establish himself as the season's most deserving champion. But that's just the system for you. It can all come down to an overtime restart at Phoenix. That will be a common theme throughout this video. Thank the Lord Kyle Larson won the 2021 Cup Series title. The guy won 10 races, including 4 of the last 5, and similar to Cindric, pulled away from Denny Hamlin late in the year as those two had been trading momentum all season. I said at the time that we were missing out on 2 historically great championship battles, but we are missing out, if you ask me, in my opinion, on 2 truly historic championship head-to-head battles between Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson in Cup, Austin Cindric and AJ Allmendinger in the Xfinity Series, and I still stand by that. At least the guy who was the undisputed driver of the season got to lift the trophy at season's end. I really don't have too much to say about the 2022 Truck Series title. Zane Smith leads both points tallies, so kudos to him for converting a strong, championship-worthy season into a title and helping establish Front Row Motorsports as one of NASCAR's contenders. Xfinity is a different story. Ty Gibbs obviously grabbed all of the headlines for his intentional wrecking of teammate Brandon Jones of Martinsville. Mind you, Gibbs was already locked into the championship 4. Jones was not. I don't care if Jones was on his way out of JGR, that's not how you race anyone, let alone a teammate. Regardless, Gibbs still walked away with the championship at Phoenix. And I should at least mention that it was an emotional one given the sudden passing of Ty's father, Coy Gibbs, the very next morning. I'm glad they got to celebrate that moment before Coy's death. And of Joey Logano's 3 championships, this one was probably his most celebrated given Logano's history with JGR at the start of his career. But my biggest gripe with 2022 has to be AJ Allmendinger not making the championship 4. Gibbs may have had the edge in the win column, but Allmendinger never had a DNF and only had 5 races all season where he was outside of the top 10. This season was on par with 2007 Jeff Gordon or 2020 Kevin Harvick when it comes to Allmendinger's consistency. But because 2 of those 5 races came in the round of 8, well, not even all those playoff points were enough to get Allmendinger's ticket punched to Phoenix. There is simply no conceivable world where Allmendinger shouldn't have been the champion this year. And yet, after winning the regular season title, he was immediately placed 4th in the playoff seeding and locked out of finishing any higher than 5th in points once the series left Martinsville. I should also mention 2022's Cup Series standings. Martin Truex Jr. ended up 17th. You wouldn't notice based on that stat, but Truex was actually in the top 5 in points for much of the regular season. It just so happens that the 2022 season saw 16 winners in the first 26 races, leaving no spot for any of the non-winners. The only reason Ryan Blaney got into the playoffs was because Kurt Busch had to withdraw his playoff waiver following a crash at Pocono that ultimately ended his career. If that hadn't happened, Blaney would have also been on the outside looking in. And based on a full season points tally, Blaney actually scored the second most, including finishing ahead of his championship-winning teammate Joey Logano. Can you believe we're only getting started here? I think you know what's coming. I really don't want to revisit the insanity of the 2023 Truck Series finale. The fact that a championship comes down to a quadruple overtime, 7-wide restart is absurd enough on its face to anyone being honest with themselves. If you really want to relive this one, check out this video by Ellie Productions, or this one from Chesapeake Diecast, or this one from Jet MDK, or this one from Eric Estep, or even this one from Black Flags Matter. Do you get the point I'm trying to make? This finish was so universally criticized that there's really nothing I can say about it that hasn't already been said. Congratulations to Drunk Ben Rhodes 2.0. I do feel bad for Corey Heim, but not as much as I would have had he not retaliated against Carson Hocevar on track to kick off this multiple overtime insanity. More on Corey Heim later, of course. I suppose Cole Custer's 2023 season was good enough, but for the second time in 3 years, a top 3 series championship probably should have gone to John Hunter Nemechek. Unfortunately, Nemechek hit the wall in the final lap and fell to 28th place, just to add insult to injury. On the Cup side of things, Ryan Blaney was credited for getting hot at the right time to claim his first series championship, while Ross Chastain broke through as the ultra-rare non-championship 4 driver to win the final race of the season, the first time that had happened in the Cup Series. I don't think this year had a clear would-be champion in a full season format, but looking at these numbers, it's safe to say it probably wouldn't have been Blaney. But hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. I didn't really approve of how Christian Eckes raced Taylor Gray at the 2024 Martinsville race, but that doesn't mean I think Eckes shouldn't have been champion that year. Eckes only had one non-top 10 finish the entire season. It was the second race at Atlanta where he finished 32nd. Aside from that, if it weren't for what Corey Heim did the following season, we'd probably look back on this year as one of the most dominant Truck Series seasons of all time. Unfortunately for Eckes, Ty Majeski dominated the final race of the year, and that was enough to give him the championship and ThorSport Racing's 4th championship in 6 years. I can't be too mad about Justin Allgaier's Xfinity title. There wasn't a clear runaway all season, and it was certainly a feel-good story for a longtime veteran to finally get over the hump. Not to mention, for all of their success with winning drivers' championships, this was Junior Motorsports' first owner's championship. I know Dale didn't care much about that, but hey, I did, so good for them. You know what the main gripe is with 2024 though. Joey Logano should have been out of the playoffs following the round of 12. He got a lifeline back in when Alex Bowman was disqualified at the Roval, then proceeded to win the very next race at Las Vegas, have 2 extra weeks to prepare for Phoenix, and then proceeded to win Phoenix, and therefore the championship, despite a 17.1 average finish on the season. A driver who would have missed the postseason in the original chase format, who finished the year scoring only the 12th most total points on the season, who had a worse average finish than 3 drivers who missed the playoffs entirely, somehow snuck off with the championship trophy in the premier stock car racing series in the world. This, I believe, was the turning point for even some of the most staunch playoff defenders. Little did we know what 2025 would bring. Crisis averted. Corey Heim overcame a bad pit stop by laying back on the restart, taking it 7 wide through turn 1, and came out on top of a season where he had a near 50% win rate and was far and away the undisputed king of the truck series. I sure am glad we can all breathe a sigh of relief, and this is certainly not a sign of things to come tomorrow.
Zilich hanging in that outside lane, but Love able to slide up in front of his best friend and take the top spot. He now controls the way to a championship.
What more even needs to be said? Look, I know some people don't like seeing the championship wrapped up early, but when it's this clear and this obvious, there should not be any conceivable world in which a driver this dominant walks away without a title. Such was the case for Corey Heim in trucks, and such was also the case for Connor Zilich in Xfinity. This is a guy that won 10 races, who won 7 races in an 8-race stretch, who had 18 straight top 5 finishes. And yet, the record book will always show that Jesse Love was the champion of the 2025 Xfinity Series season instead. Don't let this tally fool you. Zilich missed a race due to injury. Actually, he kind of missed 2. He started Daytona, but didn't finish it. Did you know that both Kyle Larson and Parker Kligerman won their races in the 88 car in his absence? Did you know that the 88 didn't even win the owner's title? Yep, that one went to the JGR 19 and Eric Almirola, who also passed Zilich in closing laps. Zilich and JRM lost out on 2 titles because he only had a 3rd place car in the final race. And yet somehow, that wasn't even the biggest insult of the entire weekend. Denny Hamlin was on cruise control in the closing laps of the Cup race, and finally, after 20 years of trying and 20 years of frustration, looked set to win a championship. Nope. William Byron blew a tire with 3 laps to go, the caution came out, the field was reset, and Kyle Larson walked away with the title instead after taking 2 tires. You can blame overtime for this just as much as the playoff format, but I gotta hand it to NASCAR. They managed to create a playoff system so bad that it made a championship won by the driver who scored the most points over the season somehow, someway feel like it was tainted. Go check out my raw thoughts from that night if you need a few minutes of an unhinged crash out. The results of this season made one thing clear. The 1-race finale was no longer tenable. It never was in hindsight, but at least a return to the chase is a step in the right direction. I will never stop fighting for a full 36, but it's a start. Good riddance to the NASCAR playoffs. May we never try to play racing again.